Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Serge, and welcome to another episode of Search for the Truth. And our goal is to educate people, empower people for you guys to take in charge of their health issues and get better naturally. So I'm all about diet, nutrition, and herbs and different things we need to do to get the body well without the intervention of conventional medicine, for example. And today I'm really excited to have this following guest because we're going to talk about a really important topic that we don't hear a lot about. I feel out there is we're going to talk about iodine, thyroid, and so on. But first of all, welcome to the show, Miss Annette.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So can you tell us a bit about you, who you are? I know you have a lot of experience. I've been following you on Facebook, for example, and why you are so passionate about what you're doing with women specifically.
Yeah, so I am a registered dietitian and a certified functional nutritionist because I disagree with everything I was taught as a dietitian.
Yeah.
So I had to get some better education. And so I've been a dietitian for about 30 years. Halfway through, I actually discovered that I pretty much had a license to kill, as the advice I was supposed to give out causes chronic disease and obesity. And so that's when I changed my path and kind of went down the functional route. And so now I niche in helping women get pregnant because infertility is declining by 1% per year since 1990.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's
yeah.
like 30%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't realize it was that much. I know people are having issues getting pregnant, but that's one of the three women, right? That's a
Yeah.
lot
Well,
of
so yeah, it's
people.
like 1 in 8 women right now, and it's gonna be 1 in 6 pretty soon. So
I see.
yeah.
Wow, that's concerning. That reminds me of the Pottenger's cats, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're familiar a little bit about this. Can you tell us a bit about the cats and why it makes so much sense to see it in us, in humans?
Yeah, so in cats, I think it's by the third generation that they become completely sterile, when they're fed foods that don't nourish their bodies. And I think that's kind of where we're heading. And so pretty soon, we're going to have a population that just can't have children.
Wow, that's so sad. But the good news from the book that I read from the studies, right? It was possible. I think it took 7 or 8 generations, something like that, to reverse the infertility in those cats using diet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about a little bit about this because this is to me the key in order for people, women, guys, to get pregnant is diet.
Yes.
So first of all, what are the top reasons why they're gonna get pregnant these days?
Why they're not going to get pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've actually, our environment is very toxic now. I mean, we
Yes,
just
I
have
agree.
toxins coming at us from everywhere. And so I kind of liken it to somebody's throwing darts at you. And so, 1, 2, 3 darts, you're going to be okay. It's not going to feel great, but you'll be okay. But if they're throwing hundreds of darts and they just don't stop, you're going to be a bloody mess on the floor. And that's kind of what's happening to us. And so we've got toxins in our food. We've got toxins in our personal body care products, toxic in our household cleaners, and just out and about in the environment. Some of them we can't control, some of them we can. And so that's kind of where it is with us. So I call it the mommy maker method, but it's a two-step approach. So you basically stop the toxins that you can, and then you shield the body from the toxins that you can't stop.
That's interesting. And then I agree with you. I mean, I was reading some studies why we are exposed to thousands of toxins through the air, the food, the water, I mean, and so
Hmm.
on.
Yeah, it's coming at us from all over. Yeah, it's
It,
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. You would believe they're trying to kill us or do something to
Yeah.
control us, right? I'm not going to go there today, but I know your opinion on this topic.
Yeah.
Um, so when it comes to toxins, and getting pregnant, for example, fertility, I think the thyroid plays a really important role, right?
Right. Yeah, hugely important. And the one nutrient that nobody ever talks about is iodine. But we know from like indigenous populations that when they have a low iodine intake, they have a lot of miscarriages or they can't get pregnant. And so we're kind of in that situation today. And one of the reasons is because we have toxins like bromide, chlorine, and fluoride. And so those are all, they're like in the family of iodine. So I don't know if you've ever seen The Munsters, but it's it's a show with this family where most of them look like monsters. And then you've
Okay.
got this one normal person in there, their niece. And she's beautiful and perfectly, like a normal human. So she's like iodine, and her monster family is like the bromide, chlorine, and fluoride. And so they're highly toxic. They really interfere with her life, and they bind to the same receptors that she does in the body. And every cell in your body has iodine receptors. And we kind of know that iodine is involved with the thyroid, but what we don't know is that the second most common place to find it is actually in your ovaries.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's even in the prostate. So all of the reproductive organs are affected by iodine quite significantly.
You have a good point here. We don't hear a lot about this. I mean, we all hear about the thyroid, iodine, and so on. So, are you saying that those elements, the bromide, fluoride, and chlorine, prevents or blocks the iodine to actually get into those different organs?
Yes, and then the body can't use it. So, and we can't use bromide, chlorine, and fluoride. And so we get bromide is everywhere. It's in computers, cars, carpet, furniture. Yeah, we really can't avoid it. Fire retardant clothing. And so imagine babies, we always put them in fire retardant pajamas. And they're growing up with these fire retardant chemicals on their body, or we have fire retardant mattresses, and those kinds of things. And so, like, we have this problem from birth, really. We're accumulating these toxins.
That's a good point, and it's really interesting that you're saying that because I had this woman who had problem right getting pregnant, and it turned out it was the mattress that she was exposed to. That I mean, we don't really think about it. Right, the mattress it's benign, you go sleep on it, but that was causing her thyroid to go hypo, and she was of course put
Mm-hmm.
on thyroid medications. That didn't really resolve the problem at the end of the day. So she had to figure out the source, and the mattress was one of the sources. That blows my mind sometimes when you start reading and researching those sources that can really impact without knowing us
Right.
the body. And fluoride, right, is another big topic. Fluoride from water. I mean, we've been told for I don't know 50, 60 years that we need fluoride for our teeth,
Yeah.
which at the end of the day, I don't know if you really need fluoride.
No.
Um, no, exactly right. That's not an element that the body requires. But this is really interesting to look at the interaction with the iodine in those
Mm-hmm.
elements. So is that why most people are deficient in iodines? Because it seems that we added iodine to our salt, for example. So we still
Yeah.
have iodine, but people are still deficient.
Yeah, and it's because we have so many of these toxins that are in the same family binding to those receptors, but also iodine evaporates really fast. So when we iodize our salt, by the time you buy it, most of it's probably already gone.
I see.
And so you're not really getting a whole lot from it. And we tend, especially in America, we don't eat a lot of like seaweed and seafood, which are really high in iodine.
Yeah.
So we're not eating the foods that are high in iodine. We've got all these toxins. And our measures to correct for iodine deficiency don't really work. So,
No, it does not. I mean, adding iodine to the salt, I mean, it's a bit controversial. Why some people said that it did help, some people say that it can actually be toxic for some people,
mhm.
overdosing on salt. So, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I actually think processed salt is toxic. So I think we should use the unprocessed sea salt, and that tends not to have as much iodine in it.
Yeah.
But we can use like organic kelp flakes or things like that to
Yes.
sprinkle on our food, and that way we can get some iodine. And for some people, they're going to have to supplement, and they might need to take really high doses. And of course, I recommend they be under the care of a knowledgeable physician for that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes we're just so deficient we can't make it up with diet.
No, that's true, especially the way we've been growing our food and we don't eat the
Hmm.
seafood and all that. So what salt specifically do we recommend? Do you
So
have some brands?
I use the Redmond's real salt.
Okay.
I like that one because it's in America, so it doesn't have to ship from overseas or anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the Himalayan salt or the Celtic sea salt is good.
Okay.
But you really want your salt to have some color to it. So if it's pure white, it's processed, even if it says sea salt.
This is a really good point because I have a lot of people, they came to me and say, I do use sea salt, but when you look at what they use, I mean, most of our salt comes from sea, right? Or it could be
Right.
coming from the mine salt, the ground, but that doesn't mean anything. I think it's really misleading, those companies using sea salt
Hmm.
as a way to advertise and get people to buy the products. So what are other sources of iodine if you don't really like fish and
Fish
seafood,
and
for
seafood.
example? Yeah.
Yeah, so dairy products, and part of that is because they usually wipe down the udders with iodine, an iodine wash. So that can be a source. Um,
Okay.
yeah, otherwise, there's not really a whole lot of really high iodine sources besides the seaweed.
So
That's
you
like the
have to
highest.
acquire the taste to eat those foods.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem too in the US. Is a lot of people don't have that taste for fish and seafood.
Hmm.
And that may be why they are a little bit deficient in iodine.
Yeah, so the easy way really is I think it's Maine Coast is the brand, the kelp flakes. You can just sprinkle that on food with your salt.
Okay. And it doesn't have a strong taste.
Not terribly. I
No,
mean, if
probably.
you used a whole lot of it, you probably would taste a little bit
Yeah.
fishy. But
Yes. Yeah. So what are other factors that can impact iodine in the body? I mean, we talk about those elements, right? The
mhm.
bromide, fluoride. Is there any other things that can be wrong in the body that can affect iodine absorption, for example?
um, I'm not really familiar with anything that affects the absorption except that those three, the bromide, chlorine, and fluoride, just being in there and taking the spots. So I think iodine's pretty easy to absorb in everything. It's just a matter of, are there receptors available for it?
So what they're saying is it's possible. I mean, it seems there's a pandemic or there a woman being diagnosed with hypothyroidism, right?
Hmm.
So you're saying that if you get rid of those different elements, it's possible to get the thyroid back to working normally?
Yeah, it could be. And even, we need to look at breast cancer here too, because an iodine deficiency can certainly increase your risk for that.
That's I heard that. I heard that the breast tissue
Hmm.
require quite a bit of iodine,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
So iodine really is important for everything.
it is. And the problem is, they did a study back in like 1948 or something, where they studied iodine on rats, and they determined that it caused hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism or something. And it was a terrible study. It wasn't designed very well. And that one study, we gave up on iodine. It used to be like in everybody's medicine cabinet. It was the cure all for everything. And then, of course,
Yes.
penicillin came on the market. So that kind of took iodine's place. And everyone forgot about it. And now everyone's afraid of it because of that one lousy study, you know?
I know sometimes people are concerned, like if you have Hashimoto's or thyroid issue, you should be on
Hmm.
thyroid or on iodine. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to thyroid health.
Yeah. And there's like a couple of different camps. So I'm in the camp that we need iodine and there's ways to take it safely. So you just have to make sure that you get the right amounts of selenium and vitamin C and like riboflavin and niacin.
Yes.
Even magnesium, because all of those kind of are supportive. And so they'll keep iodine from becoming toxic.
That's a good point. I think that's why people are a little bit concerned. They don't know how to use it,
Hmm.
or they may not use the right type, or it's too strong, or I mean, there's many things out there. That's what you said to go see a practitioner who can help because supplements are there. I don't recommend to use any of those. They can be pretty toxic if you don't know
Yeah.
how to use it.
So it's definitely not something you want to supplement on your own. You need
Exactly.
a
Not just
qualified
the
professional.
iodine, but vitamins and different products in general, right? You have to be really
Right.
careful with that. So this is the thyroid. Is there any other factors that can affect your thyroid? We talk about the toxins, but what about food? I mean, food is important, right? To get pregnant, for example, or to have a good thyroid health. So what is the best diet to support your thyroid, for example?
Yeah, and so I actually think a more animal-based diet is better. We need the fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, K2, and you're going to find those mostly in animal fat, which is, of course, something we're telling everyone not to eat.
Yes.
And we're replacing it with these really toxic vegetable oils. And they have vitamin E in them, but the reason they have vitamin E is because they're so toxic and they need that antioxidant. And so you don't actually get much of the vitamin E because it's trying to detox the oils.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a good point. That's another problems I believe that we see in Americans. So a lot of people are fat soluble, vitamin deficient,
Mm-hmm.
like the D and the A and so on and so on. It always brings me back to Dr. Weston Price, right? And he
Yeah.
did show in those populations, they were consuming 10 times more fat soluble vitamins than us.
Yeah, exactly.
And those people were really fertile and the delivery was quick, they were short, they didn't have any health problems.
Yeah, and whenever a woman got married, they would start feeding her all kinds of animal foods. I mean, they would just, stuff her face pretty much, getting her all those nutrients that you need to make a baby.
That's really interesting to me, right? So they knew for some reason that they needed to eat those different sources of fats, right? In
Right.
order to be fertile and get pregnant.
Yeah. So, and
That,
we've lost that. We've really lost all sense, in my opinion.
yeah, we did. I mean, we look at today, we spend thousands of dollars to figure out what we need to do to get better. And those people didn't spend any money, they knew what to eat. And I remember in one of
Mm-hmm.
the chapter of Weston Price, when they were in wars against each other, they would take a break in order to make sure they had the sources of fat to stay healthy.
Right.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous. So we are afraid of the fat, like you said, right? Because we've been brainwashed for the last 50, 60 years to not eat animal fats.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that was the first thing I recognized that I was teaching that was actually causing harm to people.
Yeah.
And I actually had to defend my credentials back in 2008 for telling people to eat butter instead of margarine.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
the one
and which is
simple thing.
crazy.
Wow. I mean, the big corporation association of RDs are controlled by those big
Hmm.
pharma, the corps, right? The Cargill, the Nestle, and the Coca-Cola, and all those. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and actually, as a dietitian, we used to get all kinds of junk food in the mail.
oh,
Um,
really?
yes, so I actually got candy bars in the mail one time with a note from the company dietitian telling me how I could help my clients incorporate candy into a healthy diet.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I mean, I just couldn't believe it.
That
So,
doesn't make sense to me. I
yeah,
mean, the whole association of dietitians and all those people are so backward to me when it comes to
yeah,
diet. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I quit my job at the hospital because they didn't care, as you know, they didn't
hmm,
care about the quality of the food. They needed to get the calories in. It didn't matter if you drank soda, you had 400 calories, and you had candy bars and ice cream. You
yeah.
had to meet your calories. And I was working on the cancer floor. So I just cannot imagine feeding those people sugar, 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 sugar. But as long as they get the calories, you're fine. No,
Yeah, or all the processed like canola oil and soybean oil or margarine.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
it, it-
terrible.
it's terrible. So animal fats are important. I have to say that I'm a really big fan of carnivore diet. I use
Yes.
it a lot with people, and it does work. So, do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes. And so I actually recommend the carnivore diet, well, I do really animal based, which is mostly animal foods with some fruit.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
something I wanted to talk to you about because there's two clans, right? In carnivore, some people say 100% carnivore diet, just animal protein,
Hmm.
and they say for women they need some carbs for their
Yeah.
hormones. Is that true? Do you see that with women specifically?
Yes. So I do see that with women, and I think we do a lot better if we have some carbohydrates.
Okay.
We have better energy. It's better for our thyroid.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I do recommend some fruit or honey, yogurt, full fat dairy, that kind of thing for women.
Hold on. Okay. So that this is a big confusion on that. I know personally, me, I do really well with 100% meat. But I know for you guys with your hormonal system, it's a bit different for your thyroid. So
Yeah,
that's
we're special.
you guys are really special for sure. And there's one types of toxins we didn't really talk about today. We talk about the iodine, fluoride, and all that. But what about the pills? What about the antidepressants? What about those antibiotics? Because some of them are do contain fluoride, like Prozac is
Hmm.
fluoride based. So I see a lot of women being put on those meds, and then a few years later, they are diagnosed with thyroid problems, for example.
Right. Yeah, and so it's probably the fluoride that is causing the problems with those, but really those medications don't even work. I mean, nobody has a Prozac deficiency, and they really all they do is it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a cut. You just can't see it, but it's still there. And it doesn't do anything to actually heal the problem. So that's why I think, diet is so important and supplements because you can really target what you need with those and they don't have side effects like the drugs do.
Yeah,
They're not going
exactly.
to ruin your thyroid. I
Yeah.
mean, unless you take them irresponsibly, but if you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
yeah, you
And
don't
it's
really have
a
to
bit
worry about that.
ironic to me as well, because depressions could be a thyroid problem, right? It could be coming from
Yeah.
thyroid deficiency. So you
Hmm.
put another person, you have more issues with your thyroid. Not just that, but your
Yeah, it's
energy,
just kind of a
activity.
circle. You just kind of keep.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's more and more people looking for options like you are offering
Hmm.
the nutrition and all that. So what about the pills? So how do you help people with the birth control pills? Because the pattern that
Yeah.
I see is teenagers are put on the pills and then they want to get pregnant and they can't
Yeah.
because the hormones are all screwed up.
Yeah, the pills really screw you up big time. So I do not recommend the pills, and we really have to think about who we're putting on the pills because I know a lot of teenagers, even as young as 12, maybe even younger, are being put on pills because they have premenstrual syndrome or cramps or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And we can fix those things with the right diet and supplements. We don't need to put you on a hormonal pill that's going to mess up all your hormones. And then later in life, when you want to get pregnant, it's not working. And so the pill has a lot to do with that.
I agree with you. So what are the keys, okay, to get the body ready to get pregnant?
So iodine, of course, is number one. So I always recommend that you do an iodine loading test. That way you know where your iodine is.
Can
And
you tell
so,
us a bit about this test?
yeah, and so it's not a fun test. You have to you have to take a 50 milligrams of iodine, then you collect your urine for 24 hours
Yes.
and send it in. So it's not a fun test. With that test, though, you could also test for bromide, chlorine, and fluoride. So you can get a level of your toxins and then figure out what your iodine is. If your iodine is less than 90%, then you're low and you need to build that up before you get pregnant. Because not only is iodine important for you in getting and staying pregnant, it actually is important for the development of the baby. So, babies born with iodine deficient mothers are more likely to have ADHD, autism, allergies, asthma. I mean, all of these childhood things we could actually reverse and pretty much get rid of just by supplementing iodine, which is
That's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
So what else do we need to do? So iodine, it seems to be the key, the
The
foundation.
key, yeah. And then the fat soluble vitamins would be next. So we
Okay.
want to make sure that we're eating, getting foods with vitamin A. And, a lot of people think, oh, I can get that from plants. But vitamin A is not found in plants.
No.
It's beta carotene is, and we can convert beta carotene to vitamin A. But one of the things I do is DNA testing. And so a lot of people actually genetically can't convert beta carotene to vitamin A efficiently enough to get enough vitamin A. And so we really need to get actual vitamin A, and it's only found in animal foods, and particularly the animal fats and organ meats. So organ meats are great.
The
So
liver, right?
yes, liver, that's like nature's multivitamin.
It is, especially if you want to get pregnant, having
Yeah.
some liver
And
on a
it's really
regular
high
basis.
in folate. There's more folate in liver than spinach.
That's amazing. So we have iodine, fat soluble vitamin. Anything else that people or women need to do?
Yeah, so avoid vegetable oils like soy, corn, cottonseed, canola, safflower, sunflower, grapeseed. Those are all on the absolute no-no list.
Okay.
And so you want to use butter, real butter, no margarine, beef tallow, lard. You want those properly rendered, though. So some lard in stores actually has trans fats in it because they hydrogenate it. So you
Yes.
don't want that. But duck fat, goose fat, anything from an animal is fabulous.
Yeah. So what about detox? Because I know I read some studies that babies are born with a few hundred different toxins coming from the mom. So is it important to you, or is it part of your protocol to really do a good cleanse or detox with the mom and the dad as well?
Yeah, and so for me, when I look at detox, the first thing I want to do is get rid of the toxins,
Yeah.
because it doesn't do you any good to actually do a cleanse if you're going to keep doing the toxins.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So the first step, so I have them go through a process of examining like their shampoos and lotions and things like that, and we get rid of the ones that are toxic. We look at laundry detergent. Maybe they're using weed killer in their yard,
Yeah.
so we stop those kinds of things. Um, and then, we're looking at toxins in foods like genetically modified organisms. So we don't want any of those, which are typically found in like soy, corn, cotton, and canola
Yeah.
plants, as well as zucchini and papaya. And of course, they keep trying to add more to that list. So,
They
you
keep
just have
trying
to
for
keep your
sure.
eyes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we want to get rid of all those toxins. And then we can start eating the fat soluble vitamins, making sure we're getting the iodine and the real food in the diet. And then we can see where we are as far as needing to do any kinds of cleanse. But usually I would do supplements that support detox in the body. So
Yeah.
maybe like N-acetylcysteine, vitamin E is good,
Okay.
magnesium, those kinds of things.
Those kind of things. It makes sense. Try to get the channels of detox
Hmm.
working properly and all that.
Yeah. And then sweating is really good. So, exercise that makes you sweat, taking a warm bath in Epsom salt or a sauna, all of those are great for detoxing.
I agree with you. Awesome. Listen, it's been more than 30 minutes already. So how can people reach out to you if they have problems with fertility, they want to get pregnant, it's not working? So
Yeah, so my website is getpregnantplan.com, and you can go to getpregnanteasier.com to schedule a one-on-one with me, so we can kind of talk about your situation, and I can let you know how I help you, and we can go from there.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And the website actually is rolling across the screen. So
Okay.
you can see her website, getpregnant.com.
Yeah, and my social media is at the Mommy Maker on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. So you are all about helping women to get pregnant. That's amazing.
That's what I do. I love it.
So if you guys have any questions to her, please don't hesitate to reach out to her. She's doing a really awesome job to help people. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy person. Like
Thanks
all
for
of us.
having me.
You're welcome. So have a good rest of the day, okay?
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.